retainers are a bit of an enigma in the recruitment industry. I've not come across many firms that train it particularly well and actually train how to position, how to sell effectively, follow things like a straight line selling model, follow people like Grant Cardone, although both of them, simply not ethical with regards to some of the communication. Obviously, Jordan's with his criminal track record and background of basically scamming people out of money. But the retainer conversation is important. Here we discuss retainer objections and some of those levels. I'm going to apologise for a little bit of distraction. I do have, as a lead there, my dog in the office today, which I don't usually have on a Thursday, but we've got some of the guys who are terrified of dogs, so he keeps on his lead, he keeps out of the way, and when he's on his lead, it's just an absolute pain in the arse. So you'll hear him crying a little bit in the background, you'll even see me get a little bit distracted. You'll probably see my right arm and my left arm down here, stroking him to stop him from kicking off to want to get off his lead when he's indoors and go say hi to everyone. He's a cockapoo. Sure, it'll come up at some point. But the main premise here is, guys, is training on that retainer side. Understanding how to get objections, but then also understanding how to overcome them and actually opening up with those. Because a lot of clients, or prospects should I say, won't actually share with you that objection. So hopefully this is helpful for you. It's a bit of a live Q&A working with me and some of the guys throwing some objections out. Right, so retainers. Either terribly feared in the recruitment industry or terribly comfortable. The more retainers you sold, the more comfortable you are. Funny enough, the more that you end up having. The hardest retainer is not your first one, it's your second one. Because you've done it once, and now you don't believe you could ever do it again, because you think it was a fluke. You stop asking, and you get pressure on you. So the hardest sale of your retainer is your second retainer. Okay? So, what we're going to look at is the objection elements of retainers, okay? And we're going to focus on one area, which is don't want to pay up front, okay? Now that is the major objection of any retainer. It might not be the spurious objection, it might not be the real, actually, this is the one that we're really annoyed about, but that is the main thing. So what I want you guys to do is for you guys to throw at me some of your objections and some of your, throw me your objections. I'm going to then answer it, and then we're going to flick around, and you guys are going to get the opportunity to answer those objections. So we've gone through the process, we've had the discussion, I've then asked the question, where do you sit with regards to, what do you typically work on? Are you typically contingent? Are you typically retained firm? There's a maybe in there because saying no to turn into a yes is incredibly difficult. It's not impossible, but it's incredibly difficult unless the level of urgency, the level of pain, and everything else is there. But there is a potential here for this search to turn into a retainer. Okay, they're at a maybe, and we're going to picture it. So they've worked retained in the past, they've been burned in the past, they're open to it, they've just not found the right retained partner in order to work with to support them on. So that's the kind of scene and setting. And we'll see where things go from there. Feel free to throw at me any objection you wish around the front of don't want to pay an upfront fee. You can go off on a tangent as we go through, but that's where I wanted to be initially.
I don't want to pay a deposit the first time we work together.
Okay, I completely appreciate that, Ollie. We've not worked together previously, and therefore it can be daunting to have that. What's the reason why you don't want to pay it on this time, but you'll pay it in the future?
Well, I don't know anything about you. We've never worked together, and I don't know about your track record and how successful you are. Okay, I can tell you, Oliver, I'm incredibly successful. But jokes aside, I can share with you case studies. I can share with you background. I can share with you the track record that we have, the firms that we've worked with, the exact, similar exact searches that we've done. Obviously, no search is exactly the same that we've done with similar and competing businesses of how we operate. Other than seeing case studies, other than getting a bit of background of the firm, I can tell you, share with you a bit about me as well. What specifically would you want to know in order for you to be comfortable that we're the right firm to work with? Just also what level of service I get is with your retail model.
Okay, so you mentioned a little bit about that hesitation on the upfront fee, so I'll kind of focus around that. But to give you a little bit of background of how we would work. So As a firm, we have what we call our engaged search model, which is the equivalent, although I don't like to compare ourselves with other search firms, but the equivalent of what you will have seen from a retained perspective as how they structure the deal to some extent and how they run their process. So yes, we go into the market, yes, we're proactive, all the other stuff that you've always heard from every recruitment firm. Oh yes, we have exactly, all the best talent just waiting to work for your firm and, all the rest of the stuff that probably gets shared with you. One thing that we focus heavily on here is our process of actual search process. So you're a private equity firm, probably better than I do that process and systems win. And we've got a very clear 15-step process, which I'm happy to share with you, of how we fill a search internally and what goes through. And that gives us an incredible outreach and approach process that delivers on the searches. Now, I'm not going to go into detail because A, there's a lot of detail there, and B, you're probably not that interested in how I fill the job. What you're interested in is, do we get a good slate of candidates in front of you for you to pick, for your firm, for you to move forward with. So we have a level of protection around our service. What we don't agree with is recruitment firms, search firms, whatever we want to call ourselves, going out into the market, winning searches from people like yourselves, and then giving you a bad experience. We're completely against that, and we don't believe it's effective in the market. And the amount of firms that we've taken on because of how we structure our deal, when they've said, yes, we've had retainers in the past and we've been burned. That may sound, have you been in a situation previously where you've worked on retained and not had a very good process?
Yeah, it's happened on a couple of occasions where we've not been able to get any money back either.
Okay, so I'm going to demonstrate the protection that we have on that and tell you that will never happen with us because our tagline is de-risking executive search. So one thing that we offer every single client that we work with, whether you've worked with us for 2 minutes, whether you've worked with us for 10 years, is that we offer a money back guarantee. So if you're not happy with us for any reason, then we will give you a full refund on that upfront deposit. Why do we offer that? Because A, no one's ever had to ask for it because of what we do, but it just ties us all in. If you're tied into a process and you know that, okay, well, look, if this doesn't work out, we're going to get paid anyway, we don't believe that that's a very good model to run with. We like to think that if you have the option to leave us, then it gives you a clear indication that we will not be, not to piss me off. We will not be in the process of you moving away and working with another firm. So that's probably one of the main areas. Now, would that make you a little bit more comfortable with our process?
Yeah, I think that's full out there.
Okay, another objection, and don't be as nice as Oliver's been there.
What if we find the candidate ourselves?
Okay, interesting, and absolutely. Now, based on what you shared, based on the urgency and pain problems, you've obviously, I'm going to say you've been looking for 3 months. Now, you've been looking for 3 months. Now, do you have anyone in the process at the moment, though?
No.
Okay. Do you think it's likely that you're going to find somebody from your own network?
I mean, candidates pop up all the time from within our network, so potentially, yeah.
Okay, so, and we get this quite regularly from any firm, and yeah, we've had scenarios where we've run retainers and the clients had one instance where they promoted internally, but they wanted to see the market and they wanted to find out. Now, either way, whether you run contingent or retained, you're going to pay somebody a fee. If you fill the job internally or you fill the job by your own network, obviously you're going to save yourself a fee. But I suppose it puts in the confidence from your perspective, how confident are you that you will fill this position via that method? Or do you think that there's a live potential risk that you won't, and therefore you could be waiting for even longer to get this search fulfilled?
Yeah, there is a potential risk.
Okay, let's not go down that route. Let's go down, we think we've filled things ourselves on before, so we're prepared to take that risk.
Okay.
Go down that route. Okay? Look, if you're prepared to take that risk, then I'd probably say that maybe this job isn't as urgent as what you'd like. Any position and you guys can use this, any position that we recruit for in raw selection, any appointment is incredibly important. We're a lean team, we're a lean firm. We don't just hire loads and loads of bodies to solve problems. We hire experienced individuals, we hire credible, capable individuals that take on lots of hands-on responsibility. Now, I'm going to guess it's low middle market portfolio position. You're probably going to be in the same position, that you want somebody who's incredibly hands-on, who can work across different spaces and can be the best they can possibly be. Now, if this position is that, I'd probably encourage you that you hoping that you're going to trip along somebody and they're going to be coming to your business is probably quite a risk element, which I wouldn't be comfortable with. Now, it's probably likely that won't happen, in my experience, unless you have a really strong network, which I'm going to guess you wouldn't really need to be speaking to me if that was the case. So we can run a retained process. I can put a structure around it that if that does happen and you do fill the position and we haven't, got any, we don't end up providing the candidate that gets the position, that we can put something in there that will make you comfortable and me comfortable. But if that is your prerogative, though, I'm going to be really candid. If I was let's say I'm the best recruiter in the world, I'm not saying I am by any stretch, but if I'm the best recruiter in the world, you'd like to work with the best recruiter, because who doesn't want to work with great people? And you share that with me, that doesn't inspire me. I mean, I wouldn't be the best recruiter in the world if I was contingent anyway, but if I was the best contingent recruiter, that wouldn't inspire me to work on your search, because I'm thinking I could do some work here and not get paid. So if you work in partnership with me, we'll make sure we fill this position and we can work together. I can even put them through my assessment process. I can even give you all the background and details and do all the checks that we do, and we'll run the process on that. But if your preference here is, you want to do the recruitment yourself and you want to find those and identify those people, then I'd suggest you went down that route, run that process until you become desperate. But we're here for a service and here for a reason. But equally, I don't want to work on something that I don't think we're going to get payoff on. So we can either structure that payment so there's a reduction on that process and we come to an agreement, or I'd probably encourage you to go your own way and find your own search. Okay? Yeah. So we're just basically giving them an option, giving them the choice, and explaining through either logical argument or emotional argument of why they shouldn't do it. Yeah. Okay? And giving that position. Any other objections we've got to share?
Alex, we've had a lot of search firms in the past who we've worked with, and they've all delivered. We've got the people that they placed are all still in their positions. We're very happy with them, and they never charge an upfront. Why should we go with you with an upfront? And being out of the UK, we've never heard of you before as well. Absolutely.
So there's a few in there, Callum. I'll kick off with the outside the UK. So we work with a number of firms in private equity. We work with X, Y, and Z firms who, hopefully that you're familiar with and aware with. We work on the searches in the US, and there's got to be a reason these firms trust us above working with Hydrick or equally, some of the firms that you work with there. So our track record speaks for itself to why we have so much success and based in the UK. We shouldn't, but we do, so therefore there's a reason that happens. Okay? The first point you mentioned about you've worked with search firms in the past, I'm intrigued, Callum. If you've worked with those firms in the past and you're really happy with them, why are you not working with them again?
Well, Alex, you reached out and you had a profile that I was interested in, so I wanted to talk about it.
Okay, and happy to discuss that profile. Would this be something you would consider working with a different supplier if I was to give you the guarantee that you would never have to work with a different recruitment firm again if you decided to work with Raw Selection? Now, you've had a good experience with those guys. Sounds like you're working with multiple firms. Sounds like that's multiple conversations, multiple discussions. I'm going to guess that you wouldn't have ever reached out to me if you weren't at least a little bit curious as to a better service. But if I could guarantee that for you, would you consider it?
Of course, Alex, but how can you guarantee me that?
Okay, absolutely perfect. So then we'd go back into where we were with Ollie to then position around, here's the protection level, here's how we operate, here's the reasons why. I've already demonstrated the fact we've got the US, no, not based in the US, and we're doing what we're doing. And there's these firms and all these brands and logos that work with us, etc. And you go straight back into the Oliver conversation of, we will put that in position, we will guarantee you the upfront, we will, if there's any reason you're not happy, we'll move away. What have you got to lose by going through that process? I'd probably guess I'm probably not going to win that business because they've got a very easy route of going down the contingent route. It's probably more candidate-led. So you can challenge that a little bit more, and that's why instead of going, oh, well, we're better than all your contingent clients, Callum, and we're loads better than them, and we're Raw Selection and we're excellent. Yeah, then no, Callum's not fucking interested in any of that shit. So challenge him immediately. Why are you speaking to me if you've all got such good relationships? I'm always challenging that. Well, you came to us with a candidate. Look, I can share that candidate. Would you consider working with someone else? No, we wouldn't. Share a candidate and move on.
Only if they've got a pain point, then you can really go.
Turning those into yeses, fucking hard work. Without pain and problem and urgency. And I've turned those into yeses. One was Blue Wire Capital. Never paid a retainer in their life. The other one was IPS. Never paid a retainer in their life. And now they give us everything retained, and then Jack went in and renegotiated the rates to double. So good on Jack. But you've got that process where they must be in high desperation to go down that process if they are a strong no, and not have a different option. But if you're trying to sell to someone where they are a stern no, the pain and problem isn't that hard, they've got other options, it's a very difficult sell. My mode is, I'm going to position this to you, this is how we'll work, and if you end up not being able to fill this search, you're going to bring me back. Right, so an example of that, Regal, obviously Ollie's working with him in New York at the moment, but Regal in Germany, first conversation I had, they said, we don't work retained, we're not interested, and we never will. So I was like, right, fine, this is contingent, and we'll only work contingent with them. So never made a place with them, did a ton of work for them, and guess what? They now only work with a retained partner. Because it didn't position it, and it didn't sell that we were retained, and that's how we could operate, and that you won't get the best service from me if you work contingent. Okay, another route, nobody's quite asked me that, or I could use this in some of the examples, but another route that you can use is you can work with me on a retained basis. So Ollie used it at the start with regards to we'd like to let you test you on a contingent basis, and if we're happy with you, we'll go retained. Now, I get that, and I completely understand that model of, you don't want to go down the route of working with somebody you're not happy with, tied in with something, and then you turn around and go, yeah, I don't want to work with you. You're crap. Problem is with the client is you will never see my best work if I'm working with you on a contingent basis. Now, that makes me sound like I'm basically backing you into a corner. I'm not. I'm just telling you, if you pay me up front and you work with me on a retained basis, I will put a money back guarantee in place. If you don't do that, fine, but I won't work as hard. I won't work as focused. I cannot work as hard. I cannot work as focused as I would do on a retained campaign. It's simple. If you ask 3 lawyers to look at your M&A deal and told them whoever structures the best deal will get paid at the end, I'd be very surprised if any of those lawyers would do any work for you. And any of the lawyers that do, I'd be questioning their credibility and capability and desperation. But thirdly, if you do find them, how good is that work going to be? Because they're thinking, well, if you're working with 3 other people, I've got a 33% chance. I might be the best lawyer in this group, but if one of them has already done a deal of that level, comes up with a bang average route for you to acquire this business, and you go down that route, then, okay, you've gone down that, and I've worked on this for nothing. You don't get the best result, you get a bang average result, and you run with it. Now, the best recruiters, if you're in my shoes and you're working on that type of process, the best recruiters don't work that way. The best recruiters are working retained, and so are your competitors, and therefore they're doing a proactive outreach, whereas you're doing a reactive outreach, where whoever's on someone's books already, hate that term, but let's use it, and they're already responding to adverts, or they're already available, already looking, or they're already on the market. You're not approaching people that are tentative. You're not approaching people that are working in a fund that's may or may not raise its next fund round, and they're going to wait another 6 months before they're actively looking, but they're passively looking. You're going to miss out on potentially good people that could be the person that you hire. You might end up hiring the person that applies to the advert, but I'd rather know that I've gone through the market and known everybody than working on a contingent basis. But I understand your initial sharing with me of how do we know if we're good, and then I go through all the protection levels we offer. And if they don't want to go down that route, we can ask that question of, look, I appreciate, but I'm concerned that most private equity firms or portfolio companies, when I share that with them, they're kind of looking to snap my hand off because there's a protection level and they know they're going to get the outcome, or there's no risk to them. Why would you not be doing that same process and go for this opportunity? What's stopping you? Well, X, Y, Z. Well, we've got candidates. Well, we've got this. Well, we've got that. Okay, might be that I'm not the best person to help you, or let me have a look at my network. I'll tell you within 24 hours if there's anybody that I think is going to be relevant. I'll share them with you. If not, I would suggest you go down that route, whether it be with me or a different recruiter. Credibility kept, credibility retained, example, logical argument shared of why a thing shouldn't work. It's your ability to be able to pull out loads of different objections in your arsenal and apply it to whatever you're thinking the other person's going to be. There's the old adage of fight fire with fire. If somebody's aggressive with you, fight fire with aggression. It's not going to get this. This isn't going to work. It's not going to happen. This is going to do X, Y, and Z. If somebody's quite passive with you, you probably need to be quite passive yourself, but you also need to question heavily. Because the client that shares or the prospect that shares all of their objections is easier to sell to than the prospect that goes, yeah, send me the proposal. Because that's going to make it even harder to get through because you're not getting anything back from them and they're not sharing anything. So they're going to get that proposal. It might be that they sign it. But I'd be very fearful of a prospect that said, yeah, just send me the proposal across. And have you got an objection? No, sounds good. Because I know I do that when people tell me off on the phone because I'm not interested and I don't want to tell you no because I've got better things to do than argue with you for the next 5 minutes on why I should buy your telephone system when we don't use telephones. I told you that at the start. Okay? Makes sense? Any questions on that?